Slasher Sunday. So tonight we're going to do something a little different here. We watched the entire When a Stranger Calls trilogy, so to speak, or the original duology with the remake, to throw in some flavor of terrible.
Yeah, some terrible flavor.
We wanted, so we watched all three of them, right? Back to back to back, all right in a row. Literally just press play. Actually, go grab that disc really quick.
This one?
Yep. So I got the, isn't this the second sight? That's what I thought. I got the second sight Blu-ray recently with the brand new scan and restoration. And also, it comes with the sequel, When a Stranger Calls Back, in HD as like a bonus feature. So you get both in HD, which is pretty badass. I mean, the fact that it doesn't promote that on here is weird. Mm-hmm. You think it would say like When a Stranger Calls and When a Stranger Calls Back.
Yeah.
But
that's a good deal.
Hell yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
when I looked in, because I was wanting to buy them on Blu-ray. I was looking into the different prices for both and all this and that, and then I was going through the special features of this, and it was like it includes When a Stranger Calls Back, and I was like, what? In HD? Like full Blu-ray? And it's like when the title screen comes up, the little title menu, it gives you the option of play, pick the version, pick a film.
Yeah.
And you pick either one, and both look fantastic.
Yes.
So, highly recommend When a Stranger Calls Back, second sight Blu-ray. You also get a bunch of other special features on here, but pretty incredible that When a Stranger Calls Back is on there. Maybe they didn't want to advertise that because they didn't put any special features for the second movie on here. I don't know. But, so anyway, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to compare When a Stranger Calls Back from 1979 with the 2006 When a Stranger Calls Back. Most of what I'm going to have to say is going to be about When a Stranger Calls. And I think I'm not going to save it till the end to then talk about When a Stranger Calls. I want to just mix and match them as we talk about them and what they did better and what the other ones did worse. And obviously most of the favor is going to go towards the original, but not all of it. There are things that I prefer in the remake, but nothing when it comes to like filmmaking. Just story choices that I liked. Very, very minor things.
Okay.
Not a lot.
Okay, yeah.
But there are some things. So, anyways, we have got little Carol Kane here, who is 27 years old, filming this. And she, in the beginning, looks like she's 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And then when she plays her 20-something, 25, 26-year-old self later on, she kind of looks that age too. So she's able to really pull off both of those ages. And another little piece of interesting trivia here that I found out while I was looking through the trivia on IMDb was that the guy who plays Kurt Duncan, the killer in this movie, was terminally ill during the entire filming of this, and the director and him were friends, and he refused to recast him, and he was dying like on set, and after principal photography was finished, he died. So he died pretty shortly after this was done filming. And I thought he was fantastic in this, and it's such a shame that he had to die. I think what's great about this film, because I will say, the first one doesn't really feel like a slasher, is a sense of like, there's not a lot of body count, but as far as the stalking and all of that goes, because you haven't seen Black Christmas yet.
Right.
But we'll get to that, but they have a very similar feeling, and I can definitely see that people would consider this to be a Black Christmas ripoff, but they're both just based around the legend of the babysitter who gets the phone call and this and that. So they both are based off the same urban legend, but done pretty differently. I mean, yes, there is one element that is the same, the most infamous element, but the rest of the movie is considerably different. and we'll get there because Christmas is coming up, and so we're going to be watching a lot of Christmas horror, Black Christmas, Black Xmas, and even maybe Black Christmas 2019. So you and I can absolutely shred that fucking abysmal, terrible film that I absolutely loathe. And also the director of this is the same director who did When a Stranger Calls Back, so he returned. And he also directed April Fool's Day, which is kind of cool. And the writer was the writer behind Mac and Me. And if you don't know what that is, it's hilariously awful.
It sounds very familiar.
Definitely look into Paul Rudd's appearances on Conan O'Brien, where he always uses a clip from Mac and Me as his film that he promotes.
It sounds, yeah. I think we talked about this at one point.
Yeah. No matter what movie he's made, they're like, all right, you have a promo? And he's like, yep. And they're like, you're not going to show Mac and Me again, are you?
Yes.
And he's like, no, 100% not this time.
And then he puts it on.
And of course, it's always the handicapped kid flying off of a fucking cliff.
Oh, that's right.
Which is like seriously one of the funniest looking scenes ever. But yeah. Terrible movie that was trying to capitalize on the success of E.T., as was Pod People and plenty of other movies. All right. So, what did you think of When a Stranger Calls from 1979?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, I mean, like you were saying, there's not really a high body count, but I was super creeped out by Duncan the entire film. And we talked about this as well, that he's just such a realistic person.
Yes.
That you can just imagine encountering him, and you've probably dealt with people that are, somewhat like him, like the persistent, can't catch it, can't get a hint guy that's trying to buy you drinks or, whatever, and just won't leave you
have more
alone.
experience with that.
Just a creep, and like he feels super believable, and he's not like insanely strong or super intelligent. He's just slimy and insane, and like we were saying too, kind of sad, lonely.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool. I did know what the twist was of this movie going in, so I don't know if that really ruined anything for me because it comes so early on.
So early, yeah.
Which is really surprising because the first quarter of the movie, I thought that was the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was everything. I had no idea about what happened with the rest of the film. So it was cool. It was like I got an extra movie out of it.
Right.
And yeah, I mean it was really unsettling, honestly, just the entire film. So I was pretty into it.
So the opening of When a Stranger Calls is likened to the inspiration for Scream.
Yes.
Yeah, I can that we get this long kind of opening with this girl, and then she vanishes for pretty much the rest of the film. Although in Casey or Drew Barrymore's instance, she's gone for good. Obviously, she died, but Carol Kane's character here, Jill Johnson, she did not die, and she does return not only later in the movie, but also for the sequel. But very late into the movie. I mean, she might only have 5 extra minutes of screen time at the very, very end. And he doesn't even go for her until he finds her in the paper. Like, he's not even looking for her until he stumbles across her. This almost reminds me of Sartain, pitting Michael versus Laurie, and Michael's not even out looking for Laurie. He doesn't even want her. But, he stumbles across the paper, and he's like, oh, I found her. And so one thing I can say about this film is that this film is kind of known for having a saggy middle, that people really love the opening, that's what's iconic to them, and that they kind of like the showdown again. They like everything with Carol Kane, and then everything else they're not about. And I'm actually, weirdly, not in that camp. I'm almost more on the opposite side. Yeah. I do quite like this stuff. I love Carol Kane. I've always loved her. I think she's adorable, and she's always somebody that brings back fond memories because of my, my love for the movie Scrooged, which we'll be watching this Christmas. I just got the Blu-ray. Very excited. I've had the DVD forever, but to see it in HD is very exciting. You'll get to know her as the Ghost of Christmas Present soon enough. She's fucking fantastic in that, but I like that. I mean, it's a very iconic opening, right? But what I really like about this movie is this isn't Michael Myers. this isn't, and that's what I hate about the remake, is that the remake is this faceless, personality-less
Yes.
character. It's a character, fucking archetype
Shadow.
or thing.
Yeah.
It's not. He's nothing.
He's not even.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's a good actor who plays the guy. You know, this is a guy I've seen in a million things. He's in Sons of Anarchy, and he's in Gladiator, and he's in a fucking million movies. He's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a guy like that, who you primarily cast because he has scars on his face, it's like you didn't use this guy at all. I mean, it's a total waste. But what we really get in this is an exploration of Kurt Duncan released back into society. I mean, he broke out, but you kind of get that spin. It is kind of like Halloween in the sense that Michael killed someone when young years before. This is a 7-year time jump this time, as opposed to the 15-year time jump. But he wasn't a child like Michael was. He was a man. But he breaks out, and you think he's just going to be this, guy in the shadows who's just going to be calling people. And no, he's this like very believable creep who's hanging out in bars and can't take no for an answer. And he gets his ass beat.
Oh
and he's a coward.
Yes.
And I like that about him. I like that his character isn't portrayed as like this relentless, unstoppable killing machine like a Michael or a Jason or something. Like, this guy beats the shit out of him in the bar.
Yes.
The character that I can definitely relate to more than the girl who's getting harassed. That would be more of your person. I've definitely, staved off a lot of creeps in bars that will not leave a girl alone. I'm remembering a very specific time in my memory right now of a guy who just would not let this girl be. And I just finally had to come over and be like, bro, it's over. Yeah. Let it go. I mean, I get it. You're trying to go out. You're trying to get laid. But you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Right? And this guy went way past fold. He was so far in. It was like, bro, get gone.
Get gone.
You know? And her remorse and her good nature is almost what gets her killed.
Oh, absolutely. And that's like a really common thing where it's like, I think a lot of women have a tendency to, like, she obviously isn't the one beating him up, but she still feels responsible for it and is like, well, like, he wasn't hurting me, he was just trying to talk to me. So, like, she's kind of taking for granted, like, her feelings of being uncomfortable and feeling like her space was invaded. And, like, sure, she's in a public spot, but she's very clearly not wanting to engage in him. And she's a little standoffish, but not like a bitch to him, So I think that's a common thing. No, she's firm.
She should be.
But then she kind of, like, when he follows her home and she's like, all right. Even when he comes in her house.
That definitely felt.
That is like, at that point, I feel like he 100%, I mean, he crossed the line way earlier, but then when he comes in uninvited and is like, I want to take you for coffee, and she's like, maybe. Like,
well, I think she's
that's
trying to
also
get rid
just,
of him at that
her
point.
trying to
she
get rid of him.
She has no interest in actually doing it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, though, about, like, the middle part of the film. I don't really feel like I like the opening or the closing or the middle more than, any of the others. I feel like the middle, though, like you were saying, is really, it's nice to get this, like, character development into the killer. And with Michael and, like, Jason, it works to have them be this, faceless, like, killing machine because they're a monster and they're elevated to, like, that level of, like, myth and legend. But this is just a guy and the stranger, when a stranger calls. And so the remake, I think, is just really misses out on that opportunity.
Well, they try to turn him into Jason,
but it doesn't work because there's no like, I don't know. Maybe if there was like some talk of like urban legends or like kind of hyping him up before she even encounters him, and is like there's like if there's some kind of backstory.
We do get that in the opening to a degree, but she doesn't.
But not to her though. That's just for us.
Right.
So if she had that, like if there was some rumor going around the school or something, and her friends were like trying to scare her, like then I could at least kind of see, and it would maybe even make it like speculative of whether or not he's there. Like they could have, maybe played with that, but the way it's filmed,
they saw the reports coming across their phones and whatever.
Yeah, but the way it's filmed, though, I think it's just, I could not get into it at all. I felt that it was really boring.
Yeah, I think one thing I did like about Jill in the remake versus Jill in the original is that remake Jill actually checks on the children the first time she gets the call. Kudos to her for that. Now, what I don't like about the remake versus the original is that the original had the balls to slaughter the children in the first movie, and in the remake, they slaughter other kids that we don't know of so that they can get out of slaughtering the kids that she's babysitting. But Jill is much more dedicated to her children, in my opinion, than original Jill is to her kids. She never checks on these kids. And when they find out that the killer's in the house, what does she do? She immediately runs for the door.
Yeah.
When Jill finds out that this killer's in the house, she doesn't even, she knows, she goes for the kids.
Yeah.
You know? So this Jill very much, I don't know. She's the one I'm paying.
Well, sure. She's a better, you want to be that person in that situation, but I think the original Jill, to me, is almost more of a believable teenager.
Sure.
Where she's, ignoring this call because she thinks it's a prank phone call, and then she thinks it's just some guy trying to be really creepy.
The first time. But by the third,
you
got to check on the fucking children by the third call. Even the second. I'd check on them the first, guaranteed.
I
My
agree
brain
with
would
you.
be like,
I think she should have checked on them.
I'm checking on the children.
But I think that she's a believable teenage character that whenever she finds out he's in the house, she's just selfish and runs out, and also there's a bit of, I don't feel in both of them, they don't really know the kids that they're babysitting for. It's not like they've gone back over and over again and made a relationship with the kids and the families. Both of them, in the second one for sure, the dad just sets her up with this doctor guy to babysit for. And in the first one, it feels like she just answered an ad or something.
She means the remake, not the second movie.
Sorry, yeah, in the remake.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean though? It's different.
She knows these people.
No, that they don't know them.
Yeah, in the remake, she doesn't know them.
And in the first one, it didn't feel like did she know them? Because she'd babysit for them before. I got the impression that she.
Did they outright? I think You Come Highly Recommended may have came across.
So
but I thought that was in the second one. They're kind of blending together because we watched all three of them.
Well, and they used the remake also recycles a lot of the dialogue from the first one. So I wouldn't be surprised if both of them said that they were highly recommended.
So I think the intention with the remake is that they were trying to give the audience what they were whining about after the first one. So the problem with the first one for a lot of people, not my problem, but their problem is they wish that the opening was the entire film, which is what the remake is. Yes. They took the opening and they extended it into a feature film, and they included more. Now the remake is the slasher. The remake is a slasher, straight up. It's a PG-13 slasher, so it's a bloodless slasher. But we get her friend getting killed, played by Katie Cassidy. We get the maid being killed, and then she finds, or whatever she is. I think she's a maid, right?
The housekeeper?
Housekeeper, maid, isn't it the same thing? Yeah. Whatever. So the housekeeper's killed, and she's put into the koi pond, where she has the rocks put on her, and the guy's stalking around the house. I mean, that's a straight up slash. Yeah. For sure. So, they kind of gave the people what they wanted to a degree.
Yeah.
But they made it PG-13, huge mistake. That needed to be R. They didn't ever put the kids in danger like they did in the first original. They made the central protagonist of the film very she's not unlikable. She just doesn't do anything.
I was not a fan of her acting at all. I felt like she was, and I mean, maybe it's not even her acting, maybe it's the way the character's written, but I thought she was very one-dimensional, and I couldn't really, sure, she wants to save the kids, but aside from that, I just had a really hard time getting into, putting myself in her shoes and feeling like her even her fear, I felt like, was kind of held back in in a lot of scenes, actually. And I feel like a lot of it was her walking around with her mouth slightly open and her eyebrows a little knitted together. And, it's whatever. But at least in the first one, Carol Kane, I think, is a great actress. And I think she has a good range in that movie, too.
Oh, she feels terrified.
She goes from being, kind of awkward and bored and studying to, freaked out. And, you see the development. And in this one, I didn't feel like there was enough of that in the remake.
She has so much talent, in fact, that the actor who played Kurt, who was dying on set, had a full-blown meltdown, freak out on set because he thought Carol Kane was so talented that he didn't feel like he belonged acting next to her.
He did such a good job.
And
too.
like freaked the fuck out, like had a legit meltdown. Now the guy was dying, so he probably wasn't in the right mental state.
Yeah.
But it took people on the set like convincing him that he was good enough to be by her side.
That's
But
sad.
he became very obsessive with her, I guess, and thought that she was this phenomenal talent and he was beneath her. So anyway, and also I was gonna say something there, but I think I lost it. Damn.
Sorry.
No.
You off there. You were saying that the protagonist was kind of unlikable in the remake, and we were talking about how since they gave them the audience all of the opening is the entire film.
Yeah.
You know how it didn't work.
Yeah. All I know is that I had a fantastic koi joke.
Yes.
During the remake. She jumps into the koi pond, and I mimicked him saying, "Don't play koi with me." That was definitely one of my favorite jokes that I probably say 30 to 40 puns a movie.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. That was my favorite. That was my favorite of the last maybe 5 or 10 films.
It was good.
I really enjoyed that one. In the moment, it worked. Probably doesn't now, but I don't really care. But I had to bring it up. The mom in this that she goes and babysits for the original movie is the mom in Amityville 2. I knew I recognized her, and I was looking at her, and I'm like, who is this woman? And that would have came out right around the same time. So I knew her face, and I was like, and yeah, I just, okay, as far as the idea behind taking this and making it an extended version, we need more to this in order to extend this. There's a reason why, because the director of the original made a short called The Sitter, and The Sitter is based on that urban legend. It is basically the exact same opening of the original, but he didn't want to take that and extend it. He wanted to take this idea, redo the opening, and then extend upon that with this guy breaking out. And what I love about the original is this exploration and this like Loomis type character, John Clifford, hunting after him. And, you know, he's not this like brilliant, infallible detective.
Right.
Like he's got... he's overweight and he's older and he can't really chase after him that well. And I don't know what his plan is here to kill him with lock needles. Yeah. Like, I don't know how that makes it any less suspicious that he kills him that way versus just shooting him. Is he going to make it look like he fell on lock needles? He was trying to break into someone's house and he's like, oh no, I dropped. Oh!
Ow.
Like, how's he going to stage that to make it look like, what's the point of killing him with lock needles?
What's the point? I don't know. I thought that I kind of just thought that was like, I don't know, like they could trace the bullets, so he wasn't going to use a gun. But I don't know why you wouldn't just use a knife or something else that's pointy. I don't know why specifically
and he tries to kill him with lock needles like once.
Concealable. Yeah, and then he just throws it at him.
And that's it. And then he just shoots him.
Yeah.
So he's like, I fucking missed. So now it's guns.
Now it's guns, not needles. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that decision is, but it's fine.
I would definitely say that what's funny in the original is that the kids are in bed when she gets there, but it's nighttime, so that's very believable.
Yes.
In the remake, she gets there and it looks like it's like 4 in the afternoon.
It's like, yeah.
But they do say that the kids are getting over a sickness.
Yeah.
So that's why they're in bed. But as she pointed out, kids just don't go to bed.
No.
And my kids don't. I'll put them in bed at 9. They don't go to bed till like midnight.
Yeah, but in movies, kids are always like, good night,
They're like,
Mom.
oh,
Good night,
okay.
Dad.
And they like pulled out their covers and they don't
sleep.
ask for them to be tucked in 6 more times. And you're fucking right.
Yeah.
And yeah, literally 4 times. Now, my question here, maybe this was what I was going to talk about. I think this was what I was going to talk about. Okay, I got it back. So, from what I can tell of the investigation after the fact, once the opening is done and the killer has been caught, I love the graphic explanation of what happened to the kids.
Oh yeah, it's so fucked up.
The way he tells it, man, is
Yes.
haunting. So really cool on them for that. Really going into grisly detail that these kids were mangled with this guy's bare hands. But within that, they point out that the kids had been dead for hours. So my question is, he called her, have you checked the children? Right? He's enticing her to go check on the children, which she never does. So, was it the intention of he gets the call, right? He calls, then she comes up to check on the children, and then he just kills her? But when she doesn't come, he's like irritated? And because the second call is, why haven't you checked the children?
Yeah.
Like, I'm fucking waiting up here for you.
Yeah.
Where are you? Let's go.
I thought that was what, I mean, it seems like he does want her to go up and see them and then kill her as well. So, yeah.
I think he's almost intrigued by her because when she doesn't come. It's almost like at that point he starts going like, this is why he starts to talk to her.
Sure.
Versus like, I'm only just trying to get you to come in the room so I can kill you. The fact that now you're doing this and now you're kind of talking back to me, this has made me interested in you.
Well, and he has like a very...
Because this seems random to me.
It feels random to me too, but he has a very like loose grasp on social cues and like social behavior, like normal social behavior in general. So he probably does expect that she would go check on the children, and when she doesn't, it does. I can believe that it would, pique his curiosity. So.
Yeah, I don't know. When they were saying that, I was sitting there thinking, well, the kids have been dead. Pretty much the now. When did he kill them? When like was he in the house? Like, how did he get in the house? When did he get in the house? When did he kill the kids?
Why didn't she hear him kill the kids?
Were the kids already dead by the time she got there?
Don't the parents say like we just got them to bed?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I thought that was.
We just got them to bed. Could be 30 minutes
don't
ago.
Go up there. You'll have to read them a bedtime story, or something.
Sure. So he's already in the house by that point.
Yeah.
Because he calls how long after? Do you feel?
I feel like, so she's there at like what? Like 6 or 7? 6 probably, because they're going to dinner first, and then they have dinner reservations at 8. And they might go to a movie, and then they won't be home till midnight. So she's probably been there like an hour and a half to 2 hours before he calls.
So yeah, so he probably was in the house. When, who knows? He got in the house at some point during the day. Probably before they even got home, and was just hanging out in the house.
Ugh.
Which is, of course, like one of the most terrifying thoughts ever is
So
that
gross.
somebody is just like hanging out in that closet over there.
Oh my god.
And has been in there for hours.
Oh
and
my
is just
God.
listening to our conversations and watch a movie. I see you. But anyways, I just think like, yeah, I'm very curious on what his original intention is, and also what it might have morphed into. As to where with the remake, he hasn't killed the children. So he's calling her and asking her. Now his first few calls aren't, have you checked the children? It doesn't get to that until I think the 3rd or 4th call. And he's calling. Now, I do like, if you are going to extend it the way that the remake did, you do have to introduce other characters to kill off. Now, the opening with the kids and the detective and all of that are pretty much pointless to the movie.
Yes.
The detective is not after him in this at all.
Yeah.
We get no involvement from the detective at all. He's just there to look like, John Clifford. And really nothing else. I do like the acting from him when he comes in and he sees the kids' dead bodies.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really good. And I was like, oh, okay. So this guy's very believable as somebody who just saw something, who's a cop. And he's somebody who sees this kind of shit, unfortunately. And this is something that's shaken him to his core. So if you see somebody who sees death a lot and has seen murders and seen this, and he comes in and he's shaken, you know that's fucked.
Yeah.
So they did a very good job of setting up how brutal those killings were, and instead of telling us in grisly detail like they did in the original, we get to see the more visceral reaction of somebody actually, witnessing it and coming upon it. So I like those. I like both. I like either. I like them telling us, because the performance from the guy who's delivering the lines of the coroner came in and said it would take 6 days to make their bodies even presentable, and that there was no murder weapon and all that, which they do lift that line here, there was no murder weapon kind of thing. But I do like him seeing it, and I think that's good. But we do not have any hunting of the killer or any of that stuff. Maybe that was planned for a sequel if this did well. I don't know. But obviously it didn't. I also find it funny that, and I think this is another thing I was going to talk about, that they have Katie Cassidy in this remake as well as Tessa Thompson, both of which have had really pretty good careers, especially Tessa Thompson. I think, Katie Cassidy, if you count like the Arrowverse. And they had that talent on set. I think Tessa Thompson, I think, would have been a better choice for the main girl, her friend that she's on the phone with. I definitely think she would have been the better casting choice here. She would have been more likable and given a better performance. I still don't think it would have saved the film because the PG-13 holds it back. Not that PG-13 slashers are impossible. Happy Death Day is a good example, but that's more of a comedy. This is going for a serious thing. It's not impossible, but man, it's an uphill battle. Let's just say that.
Right. No, and I actually do think that this film would have been improved. I won't say drastically, but a good amount if it had been rated R and there had been, more of the.
But what all we would have got is we would have got her friend's death and the maid's death.
Right.
That's it.
But
and maybe the opening kid's death.
Yeah. I know. That's why I was saying it wouldn't improve it drastically, but I think it would have at least made it a little bit more interesting. Because as it is right now, like, the main things that I like about the remake are the reason why, like, finding out a reason why she's babysitting. I think that's cool. But that's just like we said, to get
her dad back for a phone bill that went 800 minutes over.
Yeah.
She says,
I don't even know how much that is.
It'd be a lot. I would say that we don't ever get an explanation. She's like, why or something.
Oh, it's because her boyfriend, like, kissed her friend. And
that's the why?
Yeah. And
so she had to talk to her friends about it?
Him, and he's like, why don't you wait till after 8 o'clock at night? And she's like, I do. But obviously she doesn't. She does. The entire time. So
that's it? That's it? Because the boyfriend cheated?
Yeah.
With her best friend who comes over and is just like, I'm a bitch. Anyways, we good now?
Yeah, and like I was like into him in like the 3rd grade.
Yeah, we went out. We dated for 10 minutes.
I'm owed this. That was so silly.
And
so that was cool. I thought that the house was kind of a cool set too. I was into like the garden koi pond thing in the middle of it, and I like that it was secluded. I think that's also a nice touch because we really don't see the house at all in the original, like where it is. It's just in a neighborhood.
But I like that more.
Well,
I like that more because the seclusion thing is disconnected from what a lot of us know. Like a lot of us have neighbors like right next door, and to me that just is more intimate. It's more it's more relatable.
And I agree with you. Like overall, I prefer the.
But I'm not saying this. Yeah, you're right. It's a cool setting.
Yes, I mean for the remake, I like that they changed up the setting. But I agree that overall, I tend to like more of like you're in a neighborhood or a city or an apartment building, and there's something fucking insane happening in your house. I think that is a lot scarier to think about. But the house is cool in this. The setting is cool. I'm glad that it was changed for the remake. And then aside from that, I really can't think of a whole lot else that I like about the remake.
Yeah, I'm going to go to my notes on it here in a minute, but I think that the woman, Tracy, who is the one who he goes after in the bar, she actually screams after he comes in the house because he's like, don't make a sound, and she screams and she actually survives.
Yeah.
Like he runs away and that's it. We don't see her again and she survives. That's pretty rare. You don't see that in these kinds of movies. So the body count is immensely low. I don't know how I feel about any of that. Like, I don't know how I feel about Jill's kids not dying. Her husband not dying, I don't like at all. That is the one I definitely am not for. I think the husband should have died.
Yes.
Maybe the director and the writer were like trying to take it easy on the characters. She already put up with so much, but it was like, I mean, those weren't her kids. She's more traumatized by what had happened to her than the children to me. So I almost feel like it would have been, I don't know, not justice in a way, but like her kids get taken from her because she failed at her job and got somebody else's kids taken from them.
Well, that's why I think she's traumatized.
Like, I think that would have been a cool motive for the
Sure.
killer, of like, you never checked the children, and now someone should, now you need to check your children. Can you get here in time? I bet she'll check your children this time, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that would have been neat, because she obviously feels guilt, about the death of the kids, even though whether or not she could have prevented it, with our estimation of him being in the house like hours before, she probably couldn't have, but she definitely feels guilt about it.
I really like the line from Kurt here. It's creepy. It's actually probably my favorite moment in the movie is with him, is when he's like hiding.
Yes, mine too.
He's like, I can't be seen now. I don't exist.
Oh my God, I was
like
never born.
This really feels like the mind of someone who's crazy.
It's so scary with him. Oh, yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes for sure in the movie. I thought that was really cool.
And yeah, this is let me go to my notes on the other one, because I'm curious, because I have actually a lot. We get a lot of callbacks to the original. There's too many. I wrote down a bunch, and then like they got the Jesus Saves homage. I did like the juxtaposition of the family being murdered with the carnival riders, like fun versus terror.
Yeah.
Kind of going back and forth of like what some kids are experiencing and what other kids are experiencing at the carnival versus the murder. And let's see. We get a lot of girl drama in the remake. These girls talking shit to one another. That's supposed to be relatable to the target demographic, I guess, who's watching it. And this also the remake does that job of like, how do we get cell phones out of the equation? And the whole punishment for her having to go there is that she gets her cell phone taken from her. So that is that's plot centric. She doesn't have a cell phone, but she does still have the landline, which of course he can cut at any moment. And, we get Agent Coulson here playing her dad for a very short amount of time. These seem like the easiest jobs ever on either movie. The kids are already asleep, and all you got to do is just sit there in the house and eat their food and
just hang out.
And then you get paid.
Yeah.
Although Jill in the first movie is actually going to keep the money, and Jill in this one is more of a punishment.
Right.
Like, you need to make money for me, so that I can pay off the phone bill.
Yes.
So she's not. I guess this is just really kind of punishment.
Yeah, she's definitely not doing it out of fun. Well, I guess neither are, but.
But yeah, babysitting kids that aren't even awake.
Oh my God, that'd be so easy.
That's the easiest.
I did that once, and it was nice. It was one kid.
Yeah, I mean, we got the ice machine going off in here. She thinks that it's some noise, so she goes and checks on it, and then she pulls out an ice pop. All the same. There's so much of the same here. What's up with the Burning Man bonfire that these kids are at? Like, how rich are these kids that they have access to something like that? Isn't this like a party that they're throwing? Yeah. This isn't like an event they're going to. This is like a party they're throwing.
That's what I thought.
And they erected a statue that they could burn in their backyard.
They're like, Wicker Man, let's do it.
The fuck out of here. That's ridiculous.
It's kind of insane.
But I guess, like, look at, although the dad's like, I should have been a doctor.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then I guess other kids in town's dads are doctors. But she does live within that vicinity to where she would be going to school with kids who probably do have that kind of money. We get her calling the police and saying, is this an emergency? Yes. Well, no. You know, the dialogue is straight lifted. I mean, they didn't even try to rewrite 90% of it. Which is interesting because there's only 15 minutes of dialogue to draw from in the original. Because this is the first 15 minutes extended out to 80 minutes. And still somehow they use primarily lines from the other movie, which is really weird.
I know.
And then the rest is just her kind of walking around the house quiet and unlikably.
Unlikably quiet.
The calls are coming from inside the house. Clocks in at 1 hour and 5 minutes into this movie.
So crazy.
Which is 15 minutes before it ends.
Yeah.
As to where in the first one, I didn't get a specific time on that, but I'm going to assume it's somewhere in the 18 to 20 minute mark. So quite a bit different there. And she goes and checks on the kids once again, multiple times, and the second time she checks, the kids are gone. Carol Kane's Jill never checks on the kids.
No.
She never goes into that room.
No.
She's a terrible babysitter. But she's hotter.
She's cuter for sure.
Yeah. This girl I did not find attractive. At all. There's something about her. Them eyes, I told you. We talked about this.
We talked about.
I'm not going to say what more I said, but it wasn't favorable. And he's hiding in the rafters of the house, which I think they could have played on this more of like his presence in the house. You know, maybe. See, I think what they should have done, if they're going to do what they did with this idea of making When a Stranger Calls first 20 minutes into a feature length, what you do is you combined When a Stranger Calls and When a Stranger Calls Back, and you have this guy be a ventriloquist within the house and calling.
Oh my god.
Then you can extend that out.
Yeah.
Right? And then you set up maybe the opening, the first 20 minutes, is him playing this game on another person. And then he's going to replay it on this girl, but this girl ain't going for it.
Yeah.
Right? So like the first 15 minutes, 10 minutes, that opening, that cold opening, like Scream, you have him doing this to the family that dies in the beginning. And we actually see that play out for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And then we see the demise and how it happens. And we already know it going in. So it's not like it's breaking, anything here. It's not... The calls are coming from inside the house. Everybody fucking knows that when they're going into this movie. Outside of the few teeny boppers who, for some reason, purposely sit in the front row. You ever notice that? A lot of teeny boppers like to go and they like to sit up front.
I don't know why.
What's a bopper, by the way?
I don't know.
What's a teeny bopper?
Teeny bopper is like a little, not a teenager, but almost a teenager. Like a 14-year-old.
A 14-year-old's a teenager.
But they're like
14.
Babies. Okay, 13.
No, 13
9,
still
12.
a teenager. Come on.
I don't know. I always think of teeny boppers as like the early teens. Like 12, 13, 14.
But what is bopping?
I don't know.
They're bopping their heads?
Bop it.
They're
twist
bopping.
it,
They're fucking
pull
each
it.
other? A lot of bopping going on?
There's a lot of bopping happening.
That's all you're
right now.
doing when you're a teenager.
Bopping
You're
it.
wanting to bop.
Twist it.
You're
Pull
like, I
it,
wish I was bopping.
Jerk it.
Yeah.
Suck it.
Yeah. We've all played bop it. Thank you.
Yeah, that would have been cool to combine both the first and the second movie, because the second movie is creepy.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
And yeah, I think that could have given them a lot more content to work with in the remake, for sure.
When she hits the misters for cover, it doesn't really work in the remake.
Yeah.
He can clearly see her, and this is the fault of the director and the director of photography or whoever. This is something that I've seen too many movies do, where something's supposed to happen and we're supposed to be shown it through their vision so that we can buy that this is happening, and it's like we can clearly still see her running around in there.
Yeah.
Like, and so he can still as well.
Right.
So why make it to where we can't see anything so that sells it to us that he can't see anything?
Yeah.
Never has this been done funnier in my entire fucking movie watching experience than in Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, when he gets powder thrown in his eyes and he can't see and his character's acting blind. But it shows, and literally just the edges of the screen are blurry, and everything in the center is perfectly still in focus.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
they're
right there! What? You can still see! Totally! It's just, it's distracting.
But not.
It's a little distracting, but the guy's right there! It's so bad. I'll show it to you. We're going to go through Jean-Claude Van Damme week soon enough. We're doing it. We did Stallone. We did Schwarzenegger. We're getting to Van Damme. We'll get back to some Stallone and some Schwarzenegger still. You were enjoying those, so we'll get back to those eventually. Yes. But anyway.
The misters, I think that's definitely just, they thought it was going to look cool and wanted to use that space, which is fine, but I agree. I think that they should have made it more obscuring to the vision because it doesn't work.
Not at all. And she gets her hair pulled on in the remake and closes the door on her own hair and locks it. Man, be brutal to have an entire, chunk
of your hair
just ripped out.
And she has to rip it out.
That reminds me of freaking Saw 4.
Oh. Yeah.
Just awful.
Super painful.
Just awful. So bad. Did you know the original teaser trailer for When a Stranger Calls, the original 1979 one, the teaser trailer gives the line, the calls are coming from inside the house, in the trailer.
Wow.
How fucked is that?
That's crazy.
That's wild,
that's
right?
That's one of the
That's
biggest
the big
twists.
twist. Yeah, that's the big twist of the movie. That's crazy, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's wild. And back to the original, we get her getting the phone call after she gets some really great news that her husband is getting that much amount of money. We never find out how much his raise is, but she's very excited
and
about
a car.
it. And the car. So $20 extra a month, I'm sure, because back then that was a lot.
Like a lot.
Yeah. When I was watching Mad Men, he was like, I make $80 a week. And people were like, oh my God, you're fucking rich. You're so rich.
You're so wealthy.
And he's like, man, if I could just get a $5 a month raise, I'd be fucking living it.
Inflation.
Yes, inflation. But yeah, she gets the good news of the 5 cents extra. And then she gets the very bad news. She gets the phone call. Have you checked the children? And she fucking flips out.
Oh my God, her breakdown is great though.
But you see how everyone crowds around her?
It sucks. They're all just watching and whispering and what's happening? What is she doing? Why is she doing this?
But I feel like they take her more seriously because she's a woman.
And they would take her more seriously?
Yes.
So you're saying if it was the dad that was like, my kids,
Yes, I think in certain scenarios, your sex definitely it determines whether or not people are on your side or not. There's definitely areas where women have an advantage in that, and then there's areas where men are. When women are in, when they're looking for help, I feel like they're more prone to get it.
Yeah.
If women are frantic, help me, I'm being chased or attacked, I definitely think more people are coming to their aid, especially if they're attractive.
Yeah.
Then a guy being like, oh my God, be like, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to eat over here.
Well, okay. I don't know though. I think
all our kids are dead. You know where you're at?
I think that I think that in this scenario, I don't know that he would necessarily. I don't think that it would matter if it was a man or a woman. I think that either one, if you're crying about your kids and are freaking out, I think. I don't know though. That could be, maybe I'm wrong with that, but I feel like I would react the same way if I was seeing a dad that was having a breakdown about his kids being potentially in harm's way as I would a mother. But
well, as I told you, when I took one of my kids out of Walmart screaming, people straight up thought I was kidnapping her.
Gosh, yeah.
They were looking at me like, oh my God, someone's called security. Yeah. This guy's kidnapping this child.
Yeah, which is funny because there's a lot of women.
But when a woman who does that, they're like, "Oh shit, pissed off mom," and I'm like, "That ain't his mom. That's a man. That's a man in a dress."
Oh no, kidnapping in process.
He's doing it on purpose so he doesn't get noticed.
Mm,
They're like,
this
oh
guy.
shit, 6'3" mom is pissed.
Oh shit! Tall mom alert!
It's funny when I did that all our kids are dead thing.
Yeah.
The whole time you were talking, I was just singing, all our kids are dead in my head the whole time.
Good.
So
All our kids are
I was
dead.
listening to you mostly.
Like 2%. Good.
But I was really just singing that song really funnily in my head. Funnily?
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 Sillily?
Sillily?
Sillily.
I don't think any of those are words. Yeah, I like that in the remake, or in the original, that this goes into... No, I guess I'll save that for the next one, because that plays into the next one. But yeah, the girl at the end of this is traumatized forever, as is anybody who goes through these things. And we definitely thought that when they showed the killer's face, that they were going to do an homage to When a Stranger Calls, where the eyes are over the credits. You know, because it's the first time we see his face, and it does it in slow-mo, and it's like, ooh, there's his face. Oh no, it's just a regular guy with scars on his face.
So
Get
scary.
him. But yeah, I don't know. There's definitely things they could have done to make the remake much, much, much better. I was hoping to defend it. I was hoping that I was going to come into it being like, oh, this will be good.
Yeah.
So our next comparison video that we're intending to do soon is the Fog versus the Fog remake. So we're taking movies that we love and going to compare them to movies that we hate. She hasn't seen the Fog remake yet, but I can assure you.
Might be like, this is better than Carpenter's work ever will be.
Yeah, this is better than The Thing,
Oh my god.
Halloween, any of them.
I feel like I just spoke blasphemy. I feel
That
like
would
I'm
definitely be like...
I feel like I'm gonna go to hell for even saying that, even though I didn't
say that
believe it.
word.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to be the person who was in defense of a good movie.
Sure.
Right? If it's a good movie, I'm always going to be the first person. To me, right? It's got to be a good movie to me. I got to find things in it that I like. And for me to be like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Blair Witch 2 rules. And I'm always going to be here to defend it. And there's a ton of Blair Witch 2 haters who, you know, who've always shit on that film. And I'm always the one blowing it. And the sequel, you know, the Blair Witch from 2016. I think that movie's rad as fuck too, and a lot of people hate that one as well. And there's plenty of other examples. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, House 2, a lot of twos.
A lot of twos.
2-2.
Yeah. Yeah.
2-2-2.
2-2-2?
Yeah, it's a ballerina sequel. 2-2-2. That's it. We're done. We're done. Don't play coy with me.
All right. Did you check the children?
Oh shit, I need to.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually not going to. In fact, I'm just going to drink some alcohol instead of checking the children like she does.
Solid plan.
Yeah, sick babysitter. I think she lost her job, though. Mostly due to the fact that they don't have kids to babysit anymore.
Yeah. I think if the kids die, you're automatically fired.
And this Jill saves the kids.
Yeah.
The other Jill sucks, man. She's a shitty babysitter. She shouldn't have had kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And she shouldn't have went to a dinner for people whose kids died. A grievance.
Yeah.
A grievance dinner. Maybe that's why they were there.
Yeah.
Because she was like, oh, I've dealt with dead kids. And they're like, it's not yours. Doesn't count.
I've been around dead children before. I've looked at them. I haven't. She didn't.
I thought you were like telling us that you had been around dead children.
I've never been around a dead
You're
child.
being her.
I'm being her.
You're being her right now.
Her.
I was like, you have?
You're like,
when?
Did you tell me about this?
You're like, yours. Have you checked them lately? No!
That would be so bad. No.
I'm going to go check my children who aren't here. I'm going to call them.
Call them.
Jen, have you checked the children lately? Oh, no. I always thought the line was, have you checked the children lately?
It's just
but it's not. Have you checked the children? I don't know where I got that. I think it's from that Dane Cook skit. I think he says, "Have you checked the children lately?" And
so
I think
you
it
just
fucked me up.
adopted it.
It's kind of like the Tommy boy, Luke, I am your father, and then everyone adopted that into it, even though he says, "No, I am your father" in Empire.
I don't. I've heard this, but I don't like to believe it because it makes my brain feel weird.
Yeah, it's a total Mandela effect for sure. Yeah, Luke.
It's Bernstein.
It's not Luke.
Not Bernstein.
Yeah, don't even. No, it is Bernstein. It is
Bernstein.
100%, dude. Fuck
100%.
whatever those books say. I'm burning every copy that doesn't say it right.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a lot.
What timeline are we in?
Anyways, we're out of here. Bye.
Bye.